All right, looking at this triangle that I have drawn right here. If I told you to solve for x, could you set up law of sines? Well, you only know one angle, right? So, okay, well, you say we might could do sine of 26 over x, but I don't know any of the other angles. I would have to know another angle. Say I needed d. I would have to know sine of d to put it over 7. So I would have two missing pieces in this, and that wouldn't work. It's not a right triangle. I can't use trig. I can't use SOHCAHTOA. Can't use Pythagorean theorem. It's not a right triangle. Can't use law of sines because I have too many missing pieces. So what do you think is going to be the answer? Law of cosines. Here is law of cosines. When do we need law of cosines? When the law of sines cannot be used. When you cannot set up a proportion to use law of sines. That's when we use law of cosines. In particular, you use it when you know side, angle, side. When you know side, angle, side in order, you can use this. Or if you know all three angles and no sides. All three angles and no sides. Guess what these are right here? These are your formulas for law of cosines. They're basically the same exact formula, written 3 times. Each one depends on what you're finding. So the A, the little a's, those stand for your sides, okay? So the little a's stand for your side. The only part that's an angle is right beside your cosine. This right here is the only angles used in this formula. These right here are your only angles used in these formulas. Depending on what you're finding, depends on which formula you use. Okay, so the best way to get into this is just to do some examples. So let's look at one of these examples that's already done. I'm given side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So I know I can use law of cosines. Okay, so this right here, this 9, what is it? A, B, or C? A, little a. How do I know? Because it's straight across from big A. Okay, what is 11? Little b. And then technically I'm finding C, right? Technically I'm finding C. So if I know that A is equal to 9 and B is equal to 11 and angle C, big C, is equal to 28, I'm finding C. So in this case, since you're finding C, we're going to use the formula that has C by itself. That's why they're using this formula. So you plug everything in. A goes in for 9. 11 goes in for B. Minus 2, because that's your formula. Okay, I'm just substituting everything in. 9 squared, 11 squared, minus 2 times 9 times 11. Cosine of 28. Plug all this in your calculator, simplify it, and it brings you to here. Now, where did they get this x from? Where did this x come from? What are we technically finding? C, which we have right here, but they have that we're finding x. Okay, I don't care. If you put that C equals this, I agree with you. Okay, but that's where their x came from. They're just plugging it in for C. And then once you solve and take the square root of all this, you would find that C is congruent to 5.2. Let's practice. Example 3a. If you memorize one of them, you can know them all. Okay, so let's just keep working. Let's just practice. Right here. F is right, so 15 is equal to F. D is equal to 19, and technically we are finding G. None of these letters have anything to do with any of these, do they? Okay, here's how you figure out which one to put first. What are we solving for? The hypotenuse, which is letter what? Which would be G. That's the one that goes first. Whatever you're finding is outside by itself. So if we had to make up our own formula, we would say G squared. What are your other two sides? D and F. So if you're finding G, then F and D, doesn't matter what order they go in, but they go in the other spot. So G squared is what we're finding, equals F squared plus D squared. What's next? Minus 2 is there regardless. 2 is there regardless, times F D cosine of whatever you're finding, the big letter goes with your cosine. So if we're finding G, G's angle goes here. So you can set up this formula to meet your needs, whatever your letters are. So now, that's what we're finding, so let's plug everything in. G squared equals 15 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times 15, 19, cosine of 125. If I were you, it just makes me nervous plugging all of that in my calculator at once. I'm scared I'm going to make a mistake and it's going to cause me to have the wrong answer. Break it down. Do 15 squared plus 19 squared, write your answer, then do the rest of it. 15 squared plus 19 squared, I got 586, minus 2 times 15 times 19, cosine of 125, okay, so now I'm going to do 586 minus 'So I get G squared is equal to this, 259.0615. But I still have to take the square root. Now G is equal to 16.1. Yes, Emma. I don't remember, did I plug -2 in? No, I didn't. So it would have been -2 times 15 times 19 times cosine of 125. No, you're right, though. That came out as positive.
So, yeah, that would be right.
My answer's right? No, last night when I did it, I got something different.
Wait, how did you get 326?
It is plus. Because I plugged all this in my calculator and it came out positive. I included my -2 right there. So it came out positive. It came out positive. So now I need to add 586, which gives me the square root of, after I take the square root of 912. Yep, that's my answer. A little bit more tricky, huh? You have to be super careful. So the instructions told us just to find G. So that's all we were finding. So I got G equals 30. Okay, let's look at 3B. Now, I'm finding what? What letter am I finding? C. I'm finding C. So C has to be out here by itself. C squared. Let's make our own formula. What are the other two letters? A and B. So if we're finding C, it's out here. So A squared and B squared go next. Minus what? 2AB cosine of C. Cosine of whatever number or letter is out here. Okay, so now let's plug everything in. 7 is B. A is 4. C squared equals 4 squared plus 7 squared minus 2, 4, 7. These two numbers are always going to be the same. So if you have 4 and 7 here, the numbers going right here are 4 and 7. Cosine of 62. Now I kind of skipped a few steps here. So C squared would have equaled 38.7095 square root, and that would give you 6.2. Are y'all able to plug it all in at one time in your calculator?
Yes, ma'am.
You are? Some of you aren't. Let's see if it would work. 4 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 4 times 7 times cosine of 62. Second square root, second answer. Yeah.
I just forgot to,
So, okay, so Dalton, if you get to this part,
No,
I
we have
did,
the answer, right?
yeah, that's what I'm about to show you.
Okay.
Okay, so I've plugged in 4 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 4 times 7 times cosine of 62. All right, watch this. This is the best trick ever. I plugged everything in, and I said and I pressed equal, and I got 38.7. Okay, now press second square root, and then press second again, and press the answer button down here on your negative sign. And then press equals. It saves your last answer and plugs it in there. You have a different form. You have a different type of calculator. So now, you don't have to write down all those decimals and then do square root of and plug all those decimals in. Do I need to do that one more time? You want to know this trick, I promise. Okay. All right, let's look at the back. This was when we know side, angle, side. On the back is a case when we know I told you the wrong thing. I said angle, angle, angle. It's not what I meant. I meant side, side, side. And the back is when you know side, side, side. So you know no angles. You can use law of cosines to find when you know side, side, side. So right here, whatever angle you're finding, in this case it's what? M. Then that is what you're finding right here. So if you're finding angle M, the side of M has to go on the outside. So that's where they got 8 squared. And then you plug in your other two sides. The only difference here is when you get down right here, you divide by negative 36, then you have to do the inverse cosine because you had to break them apart. Let's try 4a together. This is supposed to say 1.9. That's supposed to say 1.9. All right, what am I finding? Angle what? Angle J. So what has to go outside first? J squared. Little j squared. because we're finding angle J. Little j squared has to go outside first. Then your other two, doesn't matter which one. Which one y'all want to go first? Okay, k squared plus m squared minus 2k m cosine of j. This becomes 1.9 squared equals 1.3 squared plus 2.1 squared minus 2 times 1.3, 2.1 cosine of j. All right, let's clean this up. 1.9 squared, 3.61. 1.3 squared plus 2.1 squared, 6.1. We cannot move all this over at once. How do I move 6.1? Okay, I agree. Subtract 3.61 minus 6.1. So now I have negative 2.49 equals negative 5.46 cosine of j. Why could I not move all that over at once? I had to subtract to get 6.1 over, but now how do I get this over? Yeah, you have to divide. That's why we couldn't do it all at once. We have to split these apart, which means we have to divide. So negative 2.49 divided by negative 5.46, and you get 0.456. Okay, now, new trick. You have this right here in your calculator. How do I have to break these apart, right? 4.45604 is equal to cosine j. Well, to find j, I have to take the inverse. So press second cosine. So you have your insert. And then press second answer to get your answer in there. And then press equals. So j was what? 62.9. All right, let's do one more example. 4b. What am I finding? R. So what goes outside by itself? R squared equals, who else is there? This is S and this is T. So R squared equals S squared plus T squared minus 2ST cosine of big R, angle R. Do you see how we're kind of making our own law of cosines every time, depending on what letters we have? Okay, R squared is 3 squared, 6.1 squared, 4.5 squared, minus 2, 6.1, 4.5 cosine of R. Clean it up. I have to subtract this over. Subtract that over, so you get 9 minus 57.46. divide by negative 54.9. Then to find r, you have to take the cosine inverse of your answer, and you should get 28 degrees. I want you to try tonight. I want you to try 2, 5, and 6. Number 2, you have to use law of sines. And then these two are cosines. Yes, Emma?
What was your answer?
28. Two, 5, and 6. But number 2 is using law of sines. These are practice problems for both. So 2's law of sines, 5 and 6 are cosines.